Questions are for Dr. McHugh, and I would like to direct them to him. The first one is, because memory recovered in therapy may constitute evidence in a trial, what do you recommend to preserve this potential evidence for the jury?
You recommend preserve the potential evidence in the trial. Well, these are kinds of questions that involve what do you do in the case of law and this whole travail of the court system. I agree with everybody who is making the point to me and others that what we're involved in here is not simply a medical issue. It involves the whole society. It's a crowd business with the media playing a role and the law courts playing a role. And the media love controversy, okay? They sell papers with controversy, so they love this. And they just as soon have this go on forever and you and me continue to suffer in it. The law courts are intended to kind of build themselves around some kind of controversy and strap us down while we're trying to do it. So doctors find it, and certainly patients find it difficult to know exactly how to behave appropriately to it. But to this question, that is, if memories can be recovered for trial, what I think everybody should be doing, patients and families and lawyers and doctors, is not worrying so much that they might make a mistake, because I'm not so concerned that a mistake can be happening. What I'm concerned in standards of practice is that you can see that a good faith effort was made to draw a conclusion. And if you can show the good faith effort, even if you make a mistake ultimately, it's going to be all right. But what happens is that good faith efforts are not made, and before you know it, you're a partisan in an issue that you're committed to forever. So as far as these memories are concerned, I think the crucial thing is that the doctor or the therapist who's claiming it says that I've looked at both parties in this, and I've made this standard approach to developing my opinion about these memories, and I concluded this, and you can look at the standards that I employed and decide whether they match contemporary standards in the field. Every case that I have looked at and have been drawn into from the legal point of view, every one of them is a syllabus of errors on not doing an examination, not getting an external informant, not working out a treatment plan, not changing that treatment plan when the patient didn't get better. All of those things are clear failures that you can see. And those are the things I think we should be responding to. Yeah. Okay.
There's a question here for Professor Mirsky. The question is, why does Professor Mirsky say that the state of California has taken a position rejecting recovered memory? The question is there some official document taking this position?
It's my understanding, is this audible? It's my understanding that there has been a reversal of the position that in the legislature that recovered memories are sufficient in themselves to provide for a conviction. I can't give you the reference for that, but I believe it is so.
There's another question for Dr. McHugh. The question is, if someone comes up with a false memory, how does that person test in a polygraph test? Perhaps that isn't directed at Dr.
No, I understand. The issue is you polygraphed the accused. Why didn't you polygraph some of the accusers? Well, the answer to that is a little complicated. The accusers come in a variety. They are a spectrum of people. Most of them are people who have truly come to believe their false opinions. And their false beliefs are as believed in as, and I think many of the families here will tell you that these are beliefs that are encased in the person belief system. And the polygraph will not test that. I have to say to you, though, that not all of the accusers are of that type. I know at least 2 cases of pure malice, attacking the family and using this instrument. And I think if you polygraph them, you would probably find that they would be different than the others. But I don't know since I haven't done it.
There's another question here. I assume that also this is for Dr. McHugh. The person requests the answer to the question, what makes a repressed memory plausible or implausible? Isn't that a subjective judgment? Is incest, not satanic ritual abuse, in itself implausible?
I only wish it were. I do think that incestuous abuse of children occurs. It occurs more frequently than we believed, and it is not implausible on its face. The satanic ritual abuse idea was on its face not completely implausible. It could be, after all, tied to other cults that we've seen. If Jonestown exists, if Waco, Texas exists, couldn't satanic rituals exist and the like? What happened with that is that a careful and thorough study by the FBI has just turned up absolutely no evidence for it. And then when you reflect a bit about it and you say, why, and particularly when you see the people who are being accused of doing it, people who are working hard for a living, maintaining their family and all, it becomes implausible to imagine that after a hard day's work, they run home and say, well, now we're going to have something really nice. We're going to put on these robes, run around with horned hats, and eat a baby. Most people want to go home and go to bed. That became. I think Dr. Mirsky said a number of tremendously important things. One of them was that the implausibility eventually began to press itself to the limit and began to cause all of these ideas to fall apart. Ultimately, of course, the alien abductions are, in the face of it, absurd. Unfortunately, incestuous abuse of children is not absurd.
We have only a few more minutes here. Several questions have been asked about how people can get copies of the overheads, especially Dr. McHugh's, Dr. Mirsky's, and the last one from Dr. Hudson.
If they write to us, most of us have these in manuscript form and would be happy to send them to interested people who want to look at it as the manuscripts are being developed into papers. But I don't know what the others. What do you think, Arnold?
Yes, I think that's a good idea, but actually a large proportion of my overheads are in the manuscript that was handed out.
Oh, yes.
In the sense that the quotations are there.
Yeah, right. I think it was. How about yours?
We have an, am I audible? We have an editorial in an arthritis and rheumatism journal on the question of sexual abuse and fibromyalgia, which addresses these general questions. And that editorial is due to be published sometime within the next couple of months. The galleys have already been back, so that anyone can write to us, and we'll send copies of that and other related documents if they're interested.
This may be a false memory on my part, but it seems to me that Drs. Hudson and Pope published a paper recently which was absolutely splendid in, was it the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease on psychiatric, on how sexual abuse and psychiatric disorders may be connected. Is this a false memory? Looks like it was. No?
What we actually have is 2 things. One, we had a review of the evidence for association between sexual abuse and bulimia nervosa in the American Journal of Psychiatry. And the second thing of interest that we'd be glad to distribute is a pre-publication copy of our paper on whether repression of childhood sexual abuse can occur, and that's going to be published in Psychological Medicine, and we'll be glad to distribute galley proofs to interested individuals.
I would like to say that article that Dr. Hudson just spoke of is absolutely splendid. I have a pre-publication copy of it, and it's just well worth reading, and it simply demolishes many of the nonsensical ideas that come out of the mouths of those people who perpetrate these ideas about sexual abuse.
We get requests all the time for some of these articles, and anybody who wants them can call our secretary, Fran, at 800-444-0601. Fran keeps packets of these papers because we so frequently get requests, and would be more than happy to send a packet of the relevant papers out. It's 800-444-0601. Well, the article on repression, to which Dr. Piper describes, is called "Can Memories of Childhood Sexual Abuse Be Repressed?" And there is a couple of other that are on the way but are not yet accepted for publication. The review that Dr. Piper described goes through the literature in this area and critically analyzes the relevant studies, including Linda Williams' study, which was presented yesterday, Judy Herman's study, and two others, looking at them carefully from a methodological standpoint. Then there are two other studies looking at the question of whether childhood sexual abuse causes bulimia nervosa, and a couple of other studies, including the fibromyalgia piece, which I described to you, which looks in more general terms at how one looks scientifically at a study of the association between abuse and adult psychiatric disorder in order to assess the hypothesis of causality, as Jim discussed in the lecture.